And when he ended that soliloquy calling SGA a point guard, he had his fingers up signaling quotation marks, point guard. That right there really puts the current transition that the NBA is in under a microscope. The chapter of the small ball era, that page is definitely beginning to turn. If you look at a lot of the teams today, they don't necessarily have a traditional point guard. There's a lot of decision makers on the floor that's generating offense. You could look at the New York Knicks, the Houston Rockets, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shit, even Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. A lot of these teams have a very similar archetype to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and this is not by accident. The Orlando Magic with Franz and Paolo Banchero. Even the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young being out. Look how Jalen Johnson as well as Zachary have the Hawks playing. So we are starting to see small signs of a transition. And with that happening, even though Stephen Curry is performing at a high level still, the Golden State Warriors in the past couple seasons have consistently been hovering, being around the middle of the pack in the Western Conference to sliding down to the 7th or even 8th seed. Matter of fact, right now, as I speak, they're currently the 8th seed. A very high IQ former point guard for the Boston Celtics, Rajon Rondo, has spoke on this. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The definition of a pure point, want to make your teammates better first and do all the little things and then scoring when needed. We've seen an influx this year with like the Houston Rockets not starting a point guard, Cooper Flagg starting.
Bucks.
Bucks. Dallas, Phoenix, teams that are good. I think obviously with the Houston and Dallas is riddled by injury. You guys are trying to figure it out, but thoughts, is that a true statement? Do you think you can win it without someone who's really running the point these days?
I think the Thunder just did it, I believe. But for me, I think it's the level of the IQ of the team overall. And then a lot of teams don't have the IQ of the Thunder organization or like the Houston Rockets, with
AKA the New Orleans Pelicans. You see them trying to run the same system. They don't have a traditional point guard, but at the end of the day, they don't necessarily have good decision makers on that team. For the most part, they got Zion running point forward almost 24/7. That's when he's healthy. Think about that. He's barely healthy. And when he's there, he's the one that's running point forward with barely any chemistry.
A lot of teams don't have the IQ of the Thunder organization or like the Houston Rockets, with Udoka. I think it's primarily with him, how he's allowing guys and how they're able to understand and execute the game plan. Because a lot of teams that I'm watching and seeing when I'm watching the film, it's like they need a point guard.
Yes.
They need someone that can run the show. And even like the game one, I believe, when the Thunder and Houston played. You need a point guard like, hey, KD didn't touch the ball. So I know if I'm in the game and KD didn't touch the ball in 8 possessions, you need a point guard. So it's like a coach can only do so much. You're managing so many different things. And a point guard is the extension of the coach on the floor. So it's like when you're not executing, when you come down and run 2 sets in a row and then the third time you try to go away from it, a point guard understands to when and where to get guys the ball.
Yeah, I think of Houston when I think of this because it's Sengun and KD getting the ball out of their spots. They're great players. They're gonna make it happen. But to your point, knowing when to get them the ball in their spots to make them be the most effective. Although they're one of the highest scoring dudes, but you see late in games, that's not necessarily either of their forte in their career. They usually got to their spots, and then that's when they're some of the best in the world.
Now, it's not only going to be interesting to see Amen Thompson's rise, but also with the Houston Rockets in crunch time moments. That pick and roll with KD and Sengun, that shit is kind of deadly. But we'll continue to see how that evolves during the season.
Yeah, I definitely still feel it's important to have a point guard just for everything you said, but it'll be interesting to see. To your point, not everybody has a high IQ and understand the game the way those OKC guys have been able to buy in.
Hey, that Isaiah Hartenstein addition is paying dividends for the Thunder. Not only he gives them the size that they need, he also is making great decision in the short roll, doing dribble handoffs, his positioning, knowing when to cut. He's spot on and he fits like a glove within that rotation. But again, as they stated, the IQ is going to be important because teams like the Pelicans, the Chicago Bulls, the Sacramento Kings, even the Charlotte Hornets to a degree, they are definitely struggling with this, as those teams not only don't have a traditional point guard, but they also don't have 5 decision makers that are reliable, because for the most part, they have a lot of inexperienced players. But we do see the evolution, because all the teams I just listed is definitely more than half the league. So this sit down with Fred VanVleet and Kevin Durant had a lot of gems in it. My man Fred loves to keep it a buck, very honest, especially coming out of that G League. He went through the gauntlet of NBA purgatory and came up out of it triumphant. So he leaves no stone unturned. But the fellas touch base on quite a few things. The small ball era ending. They also touch base on different kind of superstars and their impact on winning. This was good. KD was definitely off that cush. And again, Fred made sure the conversation stayed honest, as he even asked him about never brushing his hair. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I heard you say on, what was that, Steve Nash or Brian and them shit, that there was no more small guards. What did you mean by that?
See, I clarified this. I said, you got to be somebody who can get you a basket and be able to guard.
That part.
And hold your own guard in the first unit. I said you can play in the league, you might not be a starter in the league.
Right.
Set up guards, if you're just coming down the court and not creating no advantages, not knocking down no shots, just coming up trying to make a pass, I don't see it no more in the league.
Man, you ain't on shit.
Like you gotta at least get downhill, come down for pick and roll and knock down a deep three.
For sure.
Like, I'm not saying you can't play at all, but you gotta go get you a basket out here nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't just be out here trying to set people up. You gotta be a threat.
You gotta be a threat.
You come in the league just like we talking about the young fella like VJ. You know, you come in the league, you got to be a direct impact ASAP.
If you're
Especially
a guard,
on the ball.
on the ball, you can't just be coming off a pick and roll and just throw it just so you can go to the second side,
Right.
go to the big and then run to the corner. Like,
Now, the league definitely has gotten younger and younger in the past few years, especially when Luka and Trae Young came in. I believe before the age of 23, both of those guys had multiple deep playoff runs. They made all NBA teams, and they kind of set a new standard of where a player should be at by the age of 23. And when it comes to the teams of today, due to the fact that the past couple of draft classes, I would say in the last like 5-6 years, have created a lot of combo point guards, guys like Cade Cunningham, and even to a degree, Paolo Banchero. There's been a lot more of those archetypes, but it's hard to tell if teams are really forcing that on some of these younger players, or how many of them could effectively lead a team to win multiple playoff rounds in that role. Because the referendum is going to be up on a few of these guys to make sure that they can actually win, even though they could play the point forward role. Paolo Banchero is one example. We've seen Amen Thompson this season kind of be forced into that role, but could it really get you past multiple rounds in the playoffs? That's still yet to be seen. Also, Steven Castle out in San Antonio will eventually be in the same position, I would say in the next 2 seasons. The Atlanta Hawks recently had Trae Young go down with an injury, and Jalen Johnson looked like a completely different player, as he looked like he could successfully play that point forward role, just getting multiple triple doubles in I believe 4 to 5 games in a row. He does have the Hawks looking a lot different, and this does take some time, as Jason Tatum took many years to get over the hump. The decision as well as the playmaking is going to be very, very keen, especially the higher up you go into May and June. SGA, in a way, last season he perfected this, because his playmaking ability for his teammates, even when they're not making shots, it is insane. Anthony Edwards, to a degree, is heavily being reevaluated on this exact factor in the playoffs. Just him in that role, could it get you over the hump to get to the finals?
Make sure we run this part, because this guy's voice carries weight. So when he says no more small guards, he just shit on all the small guards in the league. I want to make sure we still.
I knew the small guards was gonna take that personal.
All this positionless basketball shit, and
need
motherfuckers
guards.
can't shoot, and motherfuckers can't run a set and get the ball, get you
agree.
into your offense.
Hey, is Freddie talking about Zion? That's another player that's kind of been thrusted into that point forward role. But could it really be successful?
There's no thought to the game. It's no change of pace. It's no setup. It's no transition between
agree.
the coach and the floor to get KD the ball. Because I don't give a fuck how good you is. You still need somebody to get you the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't need you to get me the ball. It's cool when you do, but I need you to go be aggressive so you can loosen up the rest of this defense for me though. Because I can go get one on my own. But I also love when I get assisted a basket.
Yeah, but
too.
it's my job to put still, as great as you are, it's still my job to put you in the places that you are still, that gives our team the best advantage. Because you can do everything.
And exactly, and me as a player, my job is to assist you. Be ready to catch and shoot. When you done cooking somebody, I'm there to catch and shoot. When you want to go get you a bucket, I'm spaced out.
For sure.
When you need a screen, and I'm gonna set a screen for you, and I'm gonna create an advantage that way too. I need my point guards to get a bucket. I came into the league with Russell Westbrook. Then I went to Steph.
Yeah.
And I went to Kyrie, James.
Get buckets.
They passed and got buckets.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
which made everybody else better. You know what I'm saying? It's like then when you see point guards who don't create an advantage or don't look to be aggressive, I'm just like, well, that's just making my life harder because now we don't have to guard you. You don't feel like you a threat. Now they just gonna say, well, we can just use that resource to help guard me. So I'm like, as a point guard, I want point guards to be aggressive. And the NBA is saying that because that's how every guard is playing at this
No,
point.
for sure. They told me straight up, no floor general shit. I remember that shit like it was yesterday. I thought they was crazy.
So they
But
get a bucket.
that's why I now need to get healthy because you never play with a nigga like me, bro.
Facts. My man Fred is definitely a championship player, but in the playoffs, when the game slows down, it becomes a half-court game. Sometimes you do need that floor general. Let's not get it fucked up. There's been numerous times this season where the Rockets in crunch time situations do not get Kevin Durant the ball. And sometimes when Kevin Durant does get the ball, in terms of when he was with the Phoenix Suns, he tends to get too caught up in isolation and is easier to defend. That also happened to KD when he was in Brooklyn alongside Kyrie in the Celtics series.
I can do both.
Every game, I'm sitting there like,
I can do both. I can do everything you saying in terms of being aggressive and getting my shot, but it's still a whole nother aspect to the game that is lost right now, where it's like, yeah, we putting dynamic threats on the ball, but it's like at that point, it's damn near pickup. And when the game slow down, it take a little bit more structure to it. You know what I'm saying? To even just to ride the ebbs and flows of the game of like knowing when a guy need a shot, knowing how to take advantage of the defense, like on the second side too, because just because they doubling you, that first pass not always a shot.
You're right.
You still need another play out of that. It might not be a shot, but it might be to get downhill and make another play. So I would say more like just a playmaker, but
VanVleet going in right there because a lot of teams, they don't call the NBA a copycat league for no reason. That exact scenario Fred is talking about right there is happening for certain teams in the playoffs like the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and to a degree the San Antonio Spurs. If you look at their fourth quarter in the Cup game against the Knicks, this exact scenario played out. Matter of fact, it played out in both of their games against the Golden State Warriors when they had that back-to-back, all in crunch time situations. But we'll see, a lot of teams do have this setup. You could look at the Chicago Bulls, the Charlotte Hornets, the Washington Wizards, the Portland Trailblazers. Almost the whole league is set up this way, but if you look at the younger teams, when the game gets slowed down, sometimes they do need a setup man.